It's time for us to begin. It's a little past, I think it's a little past 7. Barry is out of town again. He asked me to fill in for him this evening as it's our last class of this quarter. And we are continuing our study in Proverbs and going to continue out the priorities in the home, which was the section we were working on last week. Jacob did a good job at that. And I'm going to continue on through this section to finish out. And we'll see how far we get. We're going to start where we left off. If you have a book following along, page 45. We had just talked about Proverbs 11:22, and then we were heading into a very big section here just as we were finishing up. So we're going to start out here with Proverbs 31. So the build-up for Proverbs here, the big conclusion, looking at wisdom. Proverbs 31:10 through 31. We'll probably spend a lot of time on this particular section. There's just a lot here, a lot to unpack. But we can also move on if time allows. So let's jump right into it. Proverbs 31:10 through 31. Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She also arises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and a portion for her maidservants. She considers a field and buys it. From her profits she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes for the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. She watches over the ways of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful, and beauty is passing. But a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. All right, so a lot there. What are some things that we can pull? Some things that you see from this proverb. Value.
The value of a good wife, the ideal wife, is far above any earthly treasure.
Okay.
Mutual trust and respect, verse 11 and 12, specifically about trust. And an air of praise as well about this woman around her, because she is worthy of it.
Yeah, so an idea of trust going both ways in that relationship. What is the husband able to do by trusting his wife? What is that allowing him to do?
Fulfill his role. She fulfills her role. So
Yeah, he's out serving with doing his job, and it seems like with the other men there, and the wise men, and he's able to go out and do that, and fulfill that, put his time and energy in that, not worry about what's going on in the home, or allowing that to distract him or pull him away from his primary responsibilities. So they're trusting each other. There's a trust there by the work that she's doing. The value that's being provided is allowing that trust, and is allowing both of them to work in the most efficient way in their jobs and their roles, and being the most productive that they can in maximizing that productivity and that effort.
You know, it's kind of like 1 + 1 is more than 2. The synergy of this woman and her husband is they get more done than ordinary people. I think verse 1 is kind of a clue about where he came up with this, because it says the words of King Lemuel, the utterance which his mother taught him. I think he had a pretty virtuous mother. I think he probably saw that, but it's kind of odd that she, in verse 3 says, don't give your strength to women, nor your ways to that which destroy kings. She's giving him some pretty wise advice, and it's like Solomon, you know, as he talks to the young man about promiscuity and being getting killed by being done. But it is amazing that I think that if he has seen this in his mom, she's pretty wise. And I think that's a clue to maybe the biggest value that a mother brings, that a woman brings, is instilling this kind of information in a child's heart.
Yeah, so wisdom's not something that he just attained elsewhere outside the home, or prayed and it was given to him. He had that example, and he was able to see that and learn from that. A good comment. Anything else?
Trust her by safety. He said safely trust her.
Yeah.
So if you're able to trust someone, that fulfills a basic need in you of having safety, a safe place to go. So that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Idea of safety and what comes from the trust in that relationship is also the idea of safety and the comfort from that provides. What else?
The verse that stands out to me is one that all that she does is says her hands reach out to the believer.
Yeah, so she's doing a lot of things, but really important to point out that she is extending her services to the poor, and she's helping the poor. I think that's in 13. No, that's further down. So what does that tell you about her? What else can we get from that and learn from that?
She's compassionate.
She's compassionate. So where her heart is and so forth. Yeah.
Well, I think not just that verse, but the entire section provides a vision of a woman who moves about, and everywhere she goes, there's like this bubble around her. And she cares for all the things and the people that are in that bubble. When she sees the poor, she cares for the poor. Her children and her husband are naturally within that circumference, and she's caring for them in all kinds of ways. As she moves through the day, through the house, through the city, she's caring for all of these things and providing either an industrious work mindset, an idea of wisdom or kindness. She has a personal interaction. The merchants, I think this is saying the merchants look forward to her because she brings products that they want to sell because she's so good. And it's just this vision of everywhere she goes, she's improving the situation, not tearing down, not destroying, not bringing bitterness or gossip or anything like that. She's doing the exact opposite. So it's like it's like a bubble that moves around, and everywhere it goes is improved when it's gone. It's a really cool vision. To me, it's a really cool vision of how much impact one person can have if they're willing to work hard. Because I would say that another thing that sticks out to me here is this is a very, very busy woman. She is working all the time.
Yep.
The comments about her idleness and things like that, I think are important.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot going on in here that I think goes back to Jacob's comment of showing value. Looking at wisdom, this we've been talking about how wisdom is really invaluable, not just valuable, but invaluable, and how we need to be looking at that and attaining that and what that provides. In the first verse that we've read, so verse 10, it kind of gives a big picture of what is value. Who can find a virtuous wife? What was a virtuous wife? Her worth is far above rubies. And then we can actually start looking at, well, what does that mean? Like digging into that and seeing at all these different levels of how valuable that can be. And looking at all these different areas of what she's doing and how she's able to do them well. That she wants to do those, she desires to do those, she has the capacity to do that, she's diligently planning to do that and preparing because she has the resources and the time to really work in all those areas and help all those different areas as far as her family, the maidservants, these merchants. We can see what all she's really able to accomplish by doing. But basically not resting, by being able to work hard, have this good work ethic, to have this heart after that, and we see a lot of really good characteristics that are jumping out. Kind of getting more specific into that, to a little bit about what Adam was saying. Verse 13 through 15. It says she seeks wool and flax, willing to work with her hands. She is like the merchant ship. She brings her food from afar. So we see that there's this emphasis on hard work and skill. She has both. She has a very hard work ethic. She has the skill to be able to do work and to provide a product or service that is valuable to others, that then she can not only help others but also turn around and make profitable. And then we also see where, she is caring for not only her household, but also her maidservants. So we see this idea of serving and to serving others, making sure her household is taken care of, first and foremost when doing the other things here as well. Any other comments?
I went through and underlined the verbs that this woman is doing. And it jumped out to me that she's perceptive. Verse 18, she considers. Verse 16, and then she girds herself. So she is in preparation, and she strengthens her arms so that she can do what she needs to do. And then she seeks. She is perceptive to the people around her, not just in her own family, and that she is not necessarily putting herself up. She's just wise, and she does it with a plan, not just I'm going to go in and do it all myself. She's taking the time to be perceptive and rooting herself and strengthening herself.
Yeah. Yep. Very good observation. Anything else to add?
She doesn't stay at home.
Yeah.
She's out. She's she's not just in her house all day. She's out making things happen.
Yeah. What allows her to do that? What we talked about her being very busy, working, going all over. How is she able to accomplish all that? I think it says this a couple times throughout here.
Her relationship with her husband provides that. And she would not be able to do this trading with the merchants. She wouldn't be able to go buy this or that without essentially her. She's trading with her husband at this time.
Yeah.
So they've built a relationship that allows for that. And it's interesting, in all the things it says that she did, it never says, she saw a field, and then she went and discussed it with her husband at length, and they put a business case together. Like
Yeah.
her wisdom and her knowledge is extensive.
Yeah.
And she looks like she has a pretty open ability to do things that weren't necessarily normal for a woman at this time.
Right.
It's sort of like she's the head of home business, and she reinvests her profits in her business.
Yeah. So it goes back to that being able to be hardworking and have skill, but also having wisdom, be able to perceive. She understands her skill set. She understands the value, and she's acting on that, and acting that on a way that's good and profitable and productive. Just some notes that I had about that was that not only the relationship with the husband and the trust there that's allowing her to do that and to go out and be profitable while her husband is away doing his responsibilities, but she has done everything she needs to do to take care of the home. She has done that. She's woken up early in the morning. She's taken care of her family, taken care of her maidservants. She's gotten, she's put her head down and worked to take care of her family, which then allows her to go out and then to accomplish all these other things because she's taking care of those primary responsibilities, which allows her to then look at these other areas. And it's really interesting. When you look at verse 16 and 17, how she buys this field, she's very frugal from the standpoint of taking care of her family, well, at least what it seems like. But then she's also able to make wise decisions with money and spend it well, to then turn around and invest it wisely and to be profitable with it. So essentially, she is going out and working and increasing the net worth of the home, of the overall home.
I think it's kind of neat that it says she has servants, but yet her hand is on the spending. And the thing that holds the yarn or what it is you're working with, she's in there doing it, even though she probably is rich enough to have somebody else, which is, quality is important to this person. She wants something, and when she does it, she wants it done right. She will do it herself.
Right.
She'll be in there.
Yep, she's there with all of them. Yep, good comment. Anything else?
Yes, I look at this as this is the end cap of the whole collection of Proverbs, and this relationship with this woman is really, she embodies what we learned in chapters 1 and 9. So all of the character traits of the ideal man we see here in the woman also, whether it be financial prudence and wisdom, which is Proverbs 6, not being lazy, which Proverbs 6 mentioned in other places also, trust. I mean, all of these, this is the embodiment of wisdom and of godly wisdom. And it seems that, from verse 11, I read that word gain in the ESV. It's actually better translated spoil or plunder, which is a military word. And it just seems that King Lemuel's mother is trying to tell him that life is hard, and life's a war, and you're going to need someone there with you who's wise to help you get through it, and that is productive as you can be for God.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. It's really interesting to see that everything that's been talked about as far as wisdom and virtue and all these things, as we've been reading through Proverbs, it builds up to this point and shows what that actually looks like and how valuable that really can be.
Another thing I think about is men nowadays, if they want to keep up with what's going on in the world and in their own business, they get on a computer and go online. But in that day, the men had to go to the games. That's where it all happened. They had to see and keep up and talk,
Yeah.
talk about the Torah
Yeah.
and games.
It wasn't as quick and convenient to look things up.
I looked up Lemuel, because El means God in the Bible. So Lemuel means belongs to God. His mother named him belongs to God. That's
Yeah. Yep. Interesting takeaway. It is
So
cool.
if she doesn't, I mean, she taught this guy that he's valuable to God and to look for somebody with a kind of similar attitude. Boy, the best blessing you can ever have is to see your children when they get marry somebody that is a strong Christian. It's a tremendous blessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm impressed that she makes her own bed covers.
Yeah. I mean, her skill is, it's not just singular, dedicated to one specific area of expertise or service. I mean, she's very handy. She's very skilled. And that plays a huge part in her value. Anything else?
I love verse 29, just the admiration her husband has for her. It's really nice. It's really needed.
Yeah.
I love it. It flows, the praise just flows out.
Yeah. What is the result of her, of all this work in seeing her value, in seeing her skill, her wisdom? What is the result of that in regards to how she is looked at or considered, and then also her husband? So verse 31, give her of the fruit of her hands and let her own works praise her in the gates. 28, her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. So both of them receive praise. You know, she is praised by her husband, by her children,
And by the people that wear her clothes.
and then in the gates, by the work of her hands.
By the work of her hands.
She's praised.
The lady that was the seller, Lydia, who she was famous for making fine purple, very rare, very expensive. And evidently this woman was known for the quality that when somebody saw it, they said, well, where'd you get that?
Yeah.
Who made that?
Yeah, and by doing so, it says that she's not worried about her family in times of, snow or winter or cold, because they're taken care of, and they have proper clothing to take care of them. That gives her comfort and peace of mind. Anything else? Okay. Just a few other things. I had, as far as virtuous wife, looking at the overall picture or image of that is just some other things I have, was just looking at, excellence, worth, moral worth, being noble, having mobility, moving all around, working in all these different areas, providing value to many different people in many different areas, really shows that wisdom is not just something that can affect you or your relationship with your spouse or someone else. It's something that can extend to everyone that you come in contact with. And that's extremely valuable in how you can make an impact on someone, and so positively goes a long way. Any final thoughts before we move on?
I was thinking about verse 25. She shall rejoice in time to come. I don't know if what I'm thinking is exactly what this is saying, but sometimes our labors don't result in fruit right away. I imagine it took a long time for her to learn these skills, and a long time for her to have wisdom. And it has shown
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, this is not something that happens overnight or that you're just born with. It takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, a lot of patience, a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, perseverance, all those things to be able to acquire these and to get to this point, to do that, which is so important to do it as early as you can, to instill that as early as you can, to get to teach it as early as you can, and to work on it as much as you can, so you can build on those things and acquire it to this point. Wayne?
I'd say in today's world, she would be considered a stay-at-home mom who, in our society, it's getting to where society doesn't understand what that means. She works harder. I was glad to go to work every day. I was so glad I got to go to work because you look at what her day is like. It's incredible. You know, she probably has food ready for her husband and all the kids before they ever think about getting up. You know, and her day is long, and that's what a stay-at-home mom's life is. I don't think that society values it as much now. Not everybody can do that, and I truly value the workforce too. That is, you know, large. So many highly skilled people are women in the workforce, but we don't need to discount the value of what if they're working out of the home, they still have to do all this stuff too. It's really tough.
Well, I'm not exactly disagreeing with you. I think that's probably true, but it sounds to me like she's quite a businesswoman.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see this as someone who's just strictly a stay-at-home mom. I think that's the primary responsibility, and we see how she takes care of that first thing and early in the morning. But she does it so well, and she's such a hard worker that allows her to then go out and accomplish all these other things, to where she's clearly outside the home. She's buying land, she's planting vineyards, she's spinning cloth, she's selling to merchants, she's being profitable in all these different areas outside of just the home. That just expounds or compounds the worth that she is to her family.
That's not my job person. If she sees something,
Yeah.
she's willing to get in there and do it. And I think that's what really makes partnerships work, knowing strong suits and taking advantage of those strengths. And she's just a good example of resourcefulness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think perhaps we can use this as a way to explain how sometimes families in situations that feel like they can't afford to have a mother stay at home, perhaps this is the biblical pattern that explains how that's possible. And that women who are able to do that work provide great value to their families in monetary and non-monetary ways.
Yep.
And I think this is the passage we would look to understand frequently the work of a wife and mother. And so we might need to look at it as an example of how our society has taken this point of view that men and women both have to be in the quote-unquote workforce in a very specific way. She's in the workforce, but she is a homemaker, and she's making it possible for her to do that in this way.
Yeah, absolutely. Good comment.
it's hard for me to conceive of the possibility that even though she spins thread and maybe even weaves it into cloth, that she is probably good at training her handmaidens to do some of these things, and she supervises.
Yeah, I think no doubt that she's teaching along the way, and she's teaching and handing off that wisdom as well, which is another key element to wisdom itself in teaching and spreading that to others. Absolutely. Anyone else get that this is a passage we can look at to say, mothers don't sleep? It seems like she's working all the time. Where does she find time for that? She's so worried about, clearly she is not worried about herself. It's all on others, which in and of itself is very, very sacrificial of her time, her energy, her resources, really taking care of just anybody and everybody that she can and come in contact with. It truly is amazing.
You know, you wonder what a relationship was like with Lemuel's mother. She's the one that kind of said, you need to kind of find this kind of person. I think their relationship would be very respectful, very, if you got a daughter-in-law that's like this person, it would just be,
Yep.
you don't have to worry about your grandchildren. And we all worry about your grandchildren. You've got something you worry about.
Yeah, again, it just goes back to how valuable wisdom is and how that affects everybody. Multi-generational in the family, outside the family, those you come in contact with, work with, associate with, everything. Yeah, good comment. Okay, we will move on. We'll move on to Proverbs 4, verse 1 through 3. So we're looking at priorities in the home. We kind of had a couple of verses here. This last one on as it pertains to the woman. We're going to look at as it pertains to the man. Proverbs 4, verse 1 through 3. Hear, my children, the instruction of a father, and give attention to know understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Do not forsake my law. When I was my father's son, tender and the only one in the sight of my mother, he also taught me and said to me. Then it goes on in verse 4 down and describes some of those things. But what are some things we can pull from here?
It's generational.
Yeah, how so?
When I was my father's son, very young, the only one in the eyes of my mother. In other words, I was the firstborn, and I got a lot of attention. I think that's what it actually is saying. And the attention was instruction. It was education. It was a view toward when he was going to be my man. And he learned it well.
Yeah, so we had this idea of him remembering when he was a boy and getting instruction from his father. And then now he's giving instruction to his son. So there's that responsibility of passing wisdom down through the generations. Yeah, good one. What else?
Seems instructive as to the pattern of how wisdom is passed down. And in order for us to, as a man, to be able to teach and give instruction, we have to have heard it, but have to have accepted it,
Yeah.
and have the willingness and the persistence to pass it on.
Yeah. So there's this idea of we have to hear it, but and listen, but then we also have to receive it and actually hold on to it, hold firm to it. Anything else? So in verse 1, we get this call to wisdom. Kind of relates back to the beginning of the book, verse 1 through 8, how this father is calling his son and instructing him in a call to wisdom. I think also verse 3, when I was my father's son, tender and the only one in the sight of my mother. I think this is a reference to him being younger. Maybe he was the only child at this point, or maybe the one at least old enough to start getting instruction. But I think what we can take from this is that instruction begins at a young age. And that the sooner we do that, the better. And we have a responsibility to do that with our children. And it starts at a young age. And we can clearly see that that's when it started for him and how he acquired that. Any last comments? Okay, next one, Proverbs 4, 10 through 11. Hear, my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of your life will be many. I have taught you in the ways of wisdom. I have led you in right paths. What do we pull from that?
There's a difference of hearing and receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And he's admonishing him that he has done right. The Father has done right, and that it will be a blessing to many.
Yep. So again, this idea we have to hear, but not only hear, receive. So there's an understanding, and we hold on to those and put that into practice. What does the way of wisdom do? What is the Father telling the Son? In verse 11.
There is a proper way and right paths. It's not just any way or any path.
Right?
And God is here to help us navigate life. That's what this is all about.
So there's a right path. There's not just multiple or any way that we feel that suits us the way that we want to go. There is a right and a wrong way. And it appears, or it seems like that wisdom is leading him down that right path. By giving him wisdom, he is showing you, he's giving him, basically wrapping it up in a present for him, that this will take you down the right path. This is the key to right living and through that success, down that successful path. Anything else?
With the speaker here, there's this confidence, there's this assurance. It's an absolute phrase where I will guide you. I will lead you. These are the right things to do. And I will show you what those right things are. There's this confidence, like there is no doubt.
Yeah.
You have to have, it takes a certain person to be able to speak with that kind of confidence. And I feel like that's kind of the calling for the fathers to be able to say those kind of things.
Yeah. And to hopefully have that, to be able to say that with credibility and to know that they've been there, they've experienced that, and now they're passing that on, saying, listen to me, I know that this is the outcome if you follow these instructions, or my instruction. Anything else? Okay. We've already hit on 31, 28 through 31. So we'll move to Proverbs 15 as it pertains to priorities in general. So Proverbs 15, 16 through 17. Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure with trouble. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a fatted calf with hatred. So what do we see here? Can we pull some comparisons from this?
As Jacob was saying before, like there's nothing worth going a different way than the way of the Lord. Even if it might mean more wealth or greater status, the way of the Lord is going to be more valuable to you.
Yeah. Seems like there's an idea of contentment here, of if you have fear of the Lord, you have little, you're going to be better off than great treasure with trouble. The desire is to have great treasure, but without the Lord, it's not going to do you any good. So kind of a contentment compared to covetousness idea. Sort of wealth in regards to great treasure than a fatted calf with hatred. When looking at, probably a dinner with herbs was probably standard at that time, more common. The fatted calf was for special occasions, obviously the more desirable meal. But when it comes in a company of hatred versus love, you see where the value is there and how that can change that experience in those meals. Any other comments? Okay. Move on to Proverbs 30, 7 through 9. 2 things I request of you. Deprive me not before I die. Remove falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food allotted to me, my daily bread, lest I be full and deny you, and say, who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal and profane the name of my God. What do we see here?
In a place, and I think about California where people are going in and just wiping out schools. In a place where people are not taught that happiness is not derived by ill God. And I think this passage is really talking about, no matter how little you have, taking something that's not yours isn't going to improve the situation. And it brings shame on our heavenly Father. And it shames your family. Yes, I was always deathly afraid of David and I talked about a lot with our parents, both says, you're just afraid to embarrass your parents. But how much more to embarrass the heavenly Father?
Yep. Anything else? Seems like he's asking, remove falsehood. Falsehood also can be translated like worthlessness or emptiness, and lies. Lies are deceit. Far from me. He's asking to have his needs addressed and nothing more. Just the things that he needs to survive, his daily allotment of bread. There's this idea of contentment where there could be a temptation on both sides of this. If you have too much and you're too rich, you tend to not give the glory to God. If you're poor and you're struggling, there's a temptation to curse God. So there's a temptation on both sides to push God away. So if we trust in the Lord, we ask Him to give us what we need, and we trust in Him to do that, that's where we need to be. That's where we want to be. He's going to take care of us, and we should have that relationship with Him. Any last comments? All right. Thanks, guys.